So this is a photograph.
I saw that printed out.
Well, then I might as well talk about it. So this is a photograph I took, and I do like how strangely muted it turned out to be. And I really like the shapes, because I don't know if you can see them, but they're very interesting and complex and strange. But I don't think it can carry itself alone, and I don't want to adapt it to pastel. I was thinking of editing it to be in very different palettes, and then have it repeated in a single piece. But I'm really confused because first of all, I don't know how to do the placement of it. Because while I don't want the pictures to overlap, I don't want them to be in fragments like a collage. Thank you.
Oh, so you're just talking about layers and Photoshop.
I do, yeah, but, no, I mean like the organization of the repeated pieces. And I don't want it to just be like 4 pieces that are very organized. And so I was thinking about playing with the size of them and having some of the repeats larger than others. And then I realized with this that I could have them upside down or even sideways. And so just all the possibilities are kind of overwhelming.
Why?
Because I could place it in, this was me drawing out, okay. So I realized that one possible organization of it would be to figure out the thirds and to align the most prominent feature of the picture, which is these pipes, with the thirds and go from there. But that's hard to figure out just on outlines because still how big do you want the pictures to be, and just, I don't know, all of that seems very hectic. And then I also played with it being like this, like very, very simply organized, but I don't like that. And I don't think it conveys the message that I want to convey, well, like the redundancy of material objects. And that's why I want to play with size, is because even if they come in different sizes, and even if they appear initially to be different images, because I think at first glance these images could look different just because they're so drastically, the palettes are so different, they contain the same thing. It's the same thing, just in different packages and different sizes and colors. And so that's why I want to play with size, but playing with size makes it more complex. And so that's why I'm overwhelmed.
Why the different colors?
Because they appear like different images initially, but when you look, it's the same content, and it's just the same image repeated and redundant.
It's like the million vacuums that we have. You know,
yes, you're buying the same, well, probably there's different caliber of vacuum cleaner, don't get me wrong, but it's still a vacuum cleaner.
Talk about them like rocket science or something.
Like it'll actually change your life.
I created the dice with the vacuum.
Like you should get dressed
still
up.
a vacuum.
It's like dirt.
Like you should get dressed up to clean with it. But I mean, in the end, it's just a vacuum cleaner. It's just a pop.
I do like the pipes. That's actually really interesting.
Thank you. And so that's why I was thinking of using the rule of thirds. But I also don't want to use that as a crutch. I was like, easy way out. It's like, this is tested and true. So that's why.
You might have to lay it all out.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Honestly.
And that's like the...
See, but then when you have different sizes, then it makes
Exactly, then how do I lay it out? How do I decide which one should be which size?
It's going to start in Photoshop.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can change the size in Photoshop.
Can I lay it out on a
Yeah, you
single...
can lay it all out on a big sheet. You just drag them over, change, move, manipulate. And then once you're happy, then print them all off and lay it out. So Photoshop is your planning stage.
Okay.
And it makes it easier because you actually see it versus like printing
Exactly,
them all.
just imagining it and kind of...
Yeah, or imagining it is impossible.
Yeah, that's
You would get frustrated.
Amen system. So I'll need your help with figuring out how to put them on a single plate. And then you're sad.
Elements, questions? Kona.
So, like, with regards to your theme of, like, materialism, I understand, like, why you thought that image was interesting, because, like, you talked about, like, the vulnerability in, like, cars or whatever, but then, like, I like how you found that image interesting to that theme, but, like, the step you took from having that image and then this was, like, abstracting it, so, like, I think it would be interesting, and it's, like, important to relate that back to your theme, about how you, like, abstracted it. Why did you choose those colors, like, with regard to the theme?
Because I think that where these objects became interesting was their use and like their erosion, I guess. And so that's what made them unique. And then I don't want to say like interpretation of an object because that's kind of stupid. It's objective. It's an object. But then like what I took from those broken things became this, and like what I liked about them was like the mystery of like how did they end up like this. And to me these colors kind of replicate like a cave or a grotto, which is the same idea for me personally. It's like the epitome of like mystery, and like you can't exactly see where it ends, and it's like very secluded, which is kind of like what a junkyard is. It's very secluded.
Okay. So it seems to me like maybe one thing you can talk about, that I think maybe just like think about it is so the next part of the thing was you're gonna talk about like maybe not spiritualism, but like the rejection of materialism as like
Yeah, she jumps into sentimentalism.
yeah, okay. So like if we were to talk about sentimentalism, maybe you could talk about like, because you obviously found this image interesting. So like you're taking like that broken piece and your like spirituality or like your interest went inside of it because you thought it was interesting and that's why you extracted it. So maybe this piece could even go on to like the next part of your theme, like moving past materialism, because maybe that is
Like
that
being a bridge.
yeah, because that's like you obviously made those colors because you found beauty in that when you put those colors inside of that like dull image.
Those questions, the colors are. I would like you to talk a little bit more about why you picked them, because I mean you mentioned here that they're just obnoxious, and so I'm just curious.
Oh no, I meant the pink.
Just the pink, but not everything in general.
No, I think that the colors that I chose, I really like dark purples and blues and like light blues, and I think it's all like very tranquil. And what I liked about the coil picture is that it was very dark, which was part of what made it so unusable. But that you couldn't exactly like see the foreground made it kind of peaceful because it was just existing by itself. And like I don't know if that totally makes sense or.
But the tranquil. I mean, the tranquil. Yeah, I can see that with the cool colors. But how does the tranquil then connect to the fact that you're talking about materialism? You know, you found something that someone put together. It was a car. It was part of a car, right?
I think so, yeah.
And so, but you looked inside of it and you're like, oh, that's a really cool composition. I think that it's beautiful. I find that really interesting. Something that's supposed to protect us is broken and fragile in this moment, and I'm catching it in its vulnerability. But what does that have to do with it being tranquil colors? How can you tie that in?
Well, I could argue that since the coil is a part of it that you never think of when you see it, you know, no one asks to see the coils. They like ask to see the interior,
Yeah,
but
see
not.
the coils of that color.
That it's kind of like it's anonymity. It's kind of peaceful
Okay. So that this thing is
because they're all so useless. Like all of these cars are anonymous.
Oh yeah, they're totally useless.
And-
But those coils are so important to drive us around. You know?
Exactly.
But we don't think about it like that.
Yeah, and so because they're left alone but vital, I think that that's.
But then the pink, then why did you throw in this tranquil image and you throw in these two obnoxious?
Well, I wanted
Cool parts.
for like aesthetic reasons. I wanted the contrast,
Okay.
and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just not monochromatic, obviously, but kind of like a single plane.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could get all like hooey with it and be like, because materialism is obnoxious.
Yeah.
You have
It's
to put
always
it into
not
perspective.
that.
You have to put the neutral kind of, well, the purpose or environment neutral. You have to
Yeah.
put them in perspective, so you need something that's like not the same. It's like
Yeah,
it stands out, so
that's-
you can get
that's
the
good.
sense.
That's
Sheila, what do you think about the black?
I think that it's really, like, I like it a lot better, because she talked about the black being the negative space a lot,
Yeah.
and so I think that it's more impactful as a negative space with the black than with the white, so I really like it.
You know what I would do though? Is it would become more of a negative space if there's these two lines right here make it seem like the black. It'd be cool if the black just kind of swept through here, and these almost kind of bring
Yeah,
the
that
poppy
was-
image out. So if you made these really, and maybe make this black line a little bigger so it becomes more of a choice, and that becomes, just fades, or that's just part of this as one body. You know?
Yeah, like I felt like that triangle was kind of cut off
Yeah.
from the rest, not necessarily because of the thin branches, but because of something about like the strokes, and I wasn't happy with that.
Mariana, you're
It's really consistent.
Mariana, you're really good at pastel. Like, what do you think about this? Because you're like you've mastered it. When you look at this,
You're a
piece, like,
master.
any suggestions? Since this is Rachel's like first time working on pastel, you did a really great job. But you like that's like what you do. What do you think?
I think that you could use the blending a little better to create more value, more shape to it, and more roundness to it. Like these things, when they turn into that, you can round them out more so that it looks more like a coil instead of like so sharp. Because I mean the coil is like round, and this looks more like straight line.
That's good. Does that triangle bother you, or is it not? So you think she should pull it out like parents suggested and then try and put a little
The black more absolute will help you. 'Cause
Yeah,
right
because
now,
they're little patches.
on at
Mhm.
times it looks like, so right here, this is getting really nitpicky, but here it almost just looks like you put a border line around it. But if the black was really consistent and then it becomes really negative space. Like even though you're putting it down, then it's really negative space and it looks like you really purposely went after it. And that'll help you get some of that roundness, I think, because you can use the black to sort of start rounding and then doing the shading too.
JD, what do you think? What do you think about the
I
black?
think I like the black one. I think I agree with the like softening it more.
Okay.
Because like down there, it does just look very like not stark. It's like very flat. So
Definitely,
yeah.
definite from each other.
Yeah.
I think if you want to keep up with the tranquil idea, you're going to have to put a little softness into the black. Because I do find myself looking a lot at the black and I also do. I really want to look more in different ways. And so I'm seriously proud of you for just jumping in and doing this. Because we've talked about drawing and, you know, and you jumped into photography and you really mastered that. So I'm really proud of you for experimenting with this and just being daring. Like, that says a lot about you to do something that you're like, you know, I don't really know. I admire that. I think I'm really impressed with everything that you talked about. The art history piece, we're gonna have to really,
Beef it up.
yeah, we're gonna have to beef it up. Pastel, like looking at artists that have mastered pastel, you know, we're gonna be looking at, you know, Degas. You know, he's like the master of all pastels, even though now there's this theory that he painted everything. I don't know, but I think that'd be someone to take a look at. And but for the most part, yeah, take these suggestions. I actually agree with everyone here at this table.
No, that made sense, and I appreciate it.
Any other comments?
Do you think that even though, like all of the things that people mentioned are all the things that I noticed about it, you know, even when Karen was like, this is nitpicky, but I was like, yeah, that really bothers me. But do you think that this piece would be relevant in my exhibit, even if it's like flawed, because like so much thought process went into
No,
it?
totally.
Okay, cool.
No, because you can totally tie this into the materialism.
Well,
And
also-
I love that. But I also what I like, sorry to cut you off. What I really like
No,
is
thank
that
you for cutting.
you did something that stepped outside your comfort zone. Okay? And that's the big one, because when we started this class, you know, I looked at your drawing skills and I was like, ooh, we're gonna have to work on this a little bit. And you knew that. Like, it's harsh to hear, but you knew that coming in.
Yeah.
But you still went ahead and jumped in. And I think that's something that you need to mention when you're talking to the examiner. Like, hey, look, not my best strong suit, but I really feel that I experimented and I've reached a well-informed resolution.
It's not flawed either. It's like, it's good. The things that we're talking about are just stuff that you can,
Yeah, they're
you can now just go back and
Easy.
Can you work
fix.
over fixing it?
Oh yeah, it's called
sweet.
workable.
It's not done, yeah. You can just take the
Yeah.
black and just color in
Yeah.
what you want. Yeah, you're good. You're
Mariana.
It's not done.
Okay. So another thing is like make your shapes more intentional. So like this line, I can't tell if it's like how blended it's supposed to be or how sharp it should be. So if something's gonna be sharp, make it sharp. If it's gonna be blended, like blended, like commit to it, I guess.
Okay, yeah, no,
Does
that
that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
But yeah, you can definitely work into your fixative. It's not flawed. It's just like really fixative.
No, we buy workable fixative. That allows you to keep it.
Nice.
And it'll still come off too. Like, as terrible as that is, it still comes off. That's what I noticed with some of the stuff.
It's just less, like, not volatile.
It's less vulnerable.
Rachel, pick the next person.
Who are my options? Not Connor, not you. Who feels most prepared?
I can go, but do you guys, you guys need
kinda
to
wanna
discuss
hear
things.
from
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear what they have to say, Karen.
I said I can go, but
Yeah, I kind of want them to go.
You're a jerk. I hate you.
Stop it. You don't want to keep thinking about that. That's my proudest
I
moment.
just need help on like what to do next.
Yeah, then you.
Okay.
Sometimes
Here
I
for
think
you.
about when I'm looking
Okay. Well, for the thing with the door, I guess it's currently in my garage and I'm like waiting I need to go buy more 2x4s to do it, but okay, essentially like what I did was I like took regular just like wooden door and then I cut it down
the, like all those base strips.